Talking Royals is ringside at the races. So, who got an invite?
The new Mr and Mrs Phillips in the carriage procession, joined by the Princess Royal.
Ascot is synonymous with the Royals. You know, they came right past us here, didn't they? And we got a little wave from Queen Camilla.
So what exactly makes a perfect Ascot outfit? And who exactly got this furious side-eye from the Princess of Wales?
I think what we saw from Kate was a natural reaction of a mother.
Welcome to a very special episode of Talking Royals. There is so much coming up. It's been a busy week. We've got Order of the Garter. We've got Kate getting a little bit annoyed at Trooping the Colour. And of course, it's been revealed exactly where Prince George is going to be going to secondary school in September. But we'll get to all of that because, as you probably noticed, we're out of the office.
You're out of the office.
I'm out of the office.
Doesn't happen very often.
Doesn't happen often.
Are you managing okay? Yeah.
Yeah, it's very difficult to be out and about, but I thought I'd wear something fancy. In fact, we're all in fancy clothes, and we've dragged Charlotte along.
Oh, it's lovely to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for the
We
invite.
nicked over from your studio over
I've
to
just
ours.
popped
Yeah.
over, yeah.
So
Thought
of
I'd come
course-
and join you.
Of course, we're at Ascot because, as we were talking about earlier on in the week, Chris, this is summer season. So to celebrate summer season, we are here at Ascot. I hope you can see our whole outfit. The ladies have turned up in beautiful hats and
I know where you're going with this.
I mean, someone decides to fly in their own
see,
lane.
I had
You
to...
do understand that this comes with rules,
No,
right?
exactly. And I am dressed appropriately for the Queen Anne enclosure where we are now, where you do not have to wear a top hat.
I mean,
He's
behind,
right, to be fair.
behind us,
Can you want to
we
say that
can
again?
see
Sorry.
lots of people.
You didn't hear what Charlotte said. He's right.
He is right to
No,
be
no,
there
no.
in the Queen Anne.
Never back Chris. Never back Chris, Charlotte. That's one of the rules on this. As we can see, everyone behind us, all the gentlemen are in their top hats and tails and look absolutely gorgeous. And then Chris decided to come without.
I'm dressed appropriately, as Charlotte just said. We're not in the royal enclosure. Tomorrow we will be in the royal enclosure, and I shall have the top hat on then.
Yeah, but you won't
So-
be with us then. You'll be with your other mates.
Yes,
then,
exactly.
won't you?
That's my fun day. Yeah.
So Charlotte, you're with us, of course, because you've been doing the races and you've been doing Ascot for years with ITV Sport, haven't you?
I have it. I absolutely love it. You know, it's kind of just one of those dream jobs. Coming here, I'm here every day. Mark Hayes and I talk about the action off the track. So we kind of go around and tell everyone about the atmosphere. We chat to famous faces. We go and speak to chefs. We just have a flavour of what it's like to be here at Royal Ascot as a day out. And I also do the commentary for the royal procession. So when the royals come down in their carriages, I give a little chat about who's who, and we talk about why they're there, why they've been invited. So it's just one of those super special events, I think. You know, you look round and you sort of just feel that sense of history for how long Royal Ascot's been going, and the royals have been here with their patronage and how important that is. But actually moving it forward to the next generation and that bit of change that we see here at the same time, it's just such an exciting place to be.
Because we've talked about this before when it comes to racing, and especially Ascot, Lizzie, that of course the late Queen was such a fan of horses, and it really was just a part of who she was. There was a little bit of trepidation as to whether the king would take on that mantle.
Yeah, I think Royal Ascot is totally synonymous with the royal family, isn't it? We've had 200 years of the royal procession, and the late Queen absolutely loved her horse racing. She had an absolutely encyclopedic knowledge of her horses and the industry. And I think there was some thought about, when there was a change of reign, how would the king, you know, would he fill his mother's footsteps? And he really has embraced Royal Ascot. We've seen him here regularly ever since that change of reign. And I remember in 2023, the first year he'd taken on a lot of the late Queen's runners, he had a winner with Desert Hero, and that moment he won, he looked genuinely really emotional. And I think, you know, what an emotional moment that must have been for him, remembering his late mother. But also I think it meant a lot to the industry that he has been here so regularly and has really kind of picked up that mantle.
Now, Chris, we were stood in this very position when the procession went past. I know that over the past few months, anytime there've been occasions where the royals have been there and there've been big crowds of people, it hasn't always been a positive reaction that they've gotten. But when we were stood here, there was lots of just really positive support for the king and for the queen and the three cheers and everyone was applauding and what have you. It was a really positive atmosphere that perhaps they haven't universally had over the past
Well, I think
few
the difference
months.
is this is a ticketed event, and if you're coming because it's Royal Ascot. It's not like turning up at Trooping the Colour. It's not like going to, say, Commonwealth Day outside Westminster Abbey. And actually, Ascot is synonymous with the royals. In fact, I think King Charles is like the 13th sovereign to be associated. So this goes way back to like 1711, when Queen Anne was like cloppeting around this area and thought, this looks like quite a nice place for a race course. And she was the one that sort of started racing here way back then. Mind your hat, it's a bit windy. So actually, I think if you're going to be here, of course, you've got that connection with royalty, and they came right past us here, didn't they? And we got a little wave from Queen Camilla before they decanted from their carriages.
It's really special, I think, the fact that actually people can get that close, and you see the number of people that do crowd around here to get a glimpse of the royals as they come past. And like you say, you feel like you could just lean out, and so, obviously you wouldn't, because somebody would probably intervene rather than...
It might be a little bit weird.
Yes. But I think it's one of those occasions where actually people can get that accessibility from the royal family, can't they?
And also, what was really interesting is, of course, Peter and Harriet got married just 10 days ago, really. And I would argue that in Ascot's prior, there wouldn't be that much interest in Peter Phillips. But I think since the wedding, I think he's had a little bit of resurgence. People recognise him. There seems to be a certain amount of love towards him now, and all because of one special little wedding that happened last week, Saturday.
Yeah, there's lots of elements of Royal Ascot that make it really special, aren't there? There's the fashion, there's the horse racing, but there's also that royal procession. And at midday every day, the carriage list gets published, and people wait to see who are they going to see when they're attending. And today at 12 o'clock, we found out that the new Mr. and Mrs Phillips would be in the carriage procession, joined by the Princess Royal in their carriage. And yes, I think we covered it on the podcast. There was lots of interest in the wedding, so really lovely that they could be here today. But across the whole week, you'll see lots of members of the royal family here enjoying the racing.
So no William and Kate today. So we think the Prince and Princess of Wales could be tomorrow. I don't know. I'm just guessing from sort of past histories. You always get the King and Queen most days, if not every single day. But perhaps William and Kate in a carriage on Wednesday.
And actually, Mike and Zara are here, because I bumped into Mike in the car park across the road, and we had a lovely little catch up. As you do. Just thought I'd drop that name in there. But they weren't on the carriage. Do they all take it in turns then? Throughout the week, in terms of when they have time in the carriage and do that procession?
So it just depends, I think, on the configuration of how it goes. So there's a lunch at Windsor, and then they sort of, then make their way down here, then get in the carriages, coming down for the procession. So it's, it's sort of just based on who they have, as far as I'm aware, that they make that sort of configuration.
I think so, and actually
work,
they can't have too many carriages, because otherwise it'll be going on for sort of a long time. It's called the straight mile, and you don't want to fill it up with carriages, do you? So, but of course, there's normally 3 or 4 of them, and they sort of share it out. Today, of course, the Princess Royal was in the carriage with her son Peter and her brand new daughter-in-law. And you were saying earlier, why is she in the list as Mrs Peter Phillips?
Yeah, the
Tradition.
feminist side of me,
I know.
when we got the list, and so for those of you that aren't aware, and I didn't realise this happened at the wedding last week as well, was she is referred to as Mrs Peter Phillips, despite being a human being in her own right. But that's part of tradition, I suppose.
I mean, yes. I mean, I'm sure if you were to ask people around here, they'd have different views on that.
Interestingly, you can request what you have on your badge, actually, so you can request whether you want to have your husband's Christian name out there, or whether you want to have your own. So you can choose.
You've got
these
Ms.
days.
Charlotte Hawkins.
You can choose, which is lovely. Gone are the days. Gone are the days. I find it fascinating, though, that back in the day, things like the Royal Enclosure, they used to have lists of people who were and weren't allowed. If you were divorced, you weren't allowed. If you're an actor, you weren't allowed in the Royal Enclosure. Viscount Churchill, he was the one who had the first job of sort of doing the list. And he used to have a yes, a no, and a maybe, kind of as to whether you were deemed the right person. Luckily, they let anyone in.
Do you think? Do you think Ms.
Hat or no hat?
Do you think Ms. Charlene White would have got in under
Top of the list, mate.
Yeah, top of the list.
Top of the list.
Yeah.
Well, as you were saying, this is over 200 years old. What's your favourite moment of the last 200 years, Lizzie?
Well, there's lots. It's 200 years of the royal procession. So that started in 1825. But I think that moment I mentioned earlier in 2023, seeing the King really emotional when his horse Desert Hero one. I think that was a special moment. But there are lots to pick, and I don't want to pick all of them. So,
Chris?
Well, I mean, I probably was going to go for the 2013 moment, but shall I give that to you one?
Yes.
I'll give you that one.
Oh, it was such a special moment when the Queen's horse Estimate won the Gold Cup, and just to see that look on her face, because, you know, her horses were absolutely everything to her, and to get a winner was just, you know, you could just see that emotion, and you could see her eyes light up.
Everything came together. She got a winner, she got it here, she got it, you know, it was like around the time of her Diamond Jubilee. I mean, everything was really quite special, wasn't it, at that time? So, but we were digging around in the archive about how, you know, because she pretty much came every single year, with one or two exceptions. But the oldest pictures we could find were from 1957.
Which is a couple of years after ITV was actually established.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe we didn't have any cameras before that because we didn't exist. So there are some wonderful pictures of the Queen arriving and, you know, continuing that tradition, as Lizzie said, of the royal procession with Prince Philip to her side, and then in the other carriage behind them was the Queen Mother, parasol up. You kind of could have done with that today actually as well, because it's so, and also the Queen's sister, Princess Margaret.
What was lovely, Charlotte, is there was a moment we had a little bit earlier on, and these ladies came and they were chatting to us about Ascot and what have you. And they mentioned the fact that they love coming every year. And last year they came and they met this lovely group of 80-year-old men. There was about 3 of them. And they said, oh, we've been coming every year for 30 years. We absolutely love it. But I won't reveal where they stuck their alcohol because they managed to sneak alcohol in, which is not allowed. But this isn't just a tradition for the royals. There are so many people who come here for whom this is a yearly tradition with their friends and with their family. It's very much a date in the calendar for them.
I absolutely love that. I mean, yeah, it used to be the first date that went in the Queen's calendar, and there were a lot of people actually who were the same, that for them this is such an important social event where, you know, you get the chance to get an amazing frock, get a hat. There's not many times these days that actually people wear hats and you have that chance to put together an outfit like that. So for a lot of people it is a yearly tradition. They come back year after year, and then I love the fact that, you know, people come here for the first time as well and they look around, and, you know, we interviewed Vanessa Williams,
yeah, so I saw her earlier,
star of Stage Green, musical star of course, and she was here for the first time, and she was just looking around going, this is just amazing, because for other people they're just like, wow, this is such a sense of British tradition, and you really feel those footsteps who've trod that path for so many years before.
And if you hang on long enough and you've had a few drinks, as a lot of the people around here are doing, then you get music around the bandstand around about 6 o'clock, and there's a lot of hearty singing going on.
Are we going for a boogie
so,
then when this
well,
is done?
you know, if you're free at that time, we could
Well,
always
you've got
see.
work to do.
I've got work to do for the programme, but we got you off the programme, so you could go along there to the bandstand, have a little sing.
Welcome back. Look, we need to deal with the elephant in the room.
or the hat in the room.
I've had to change my hat. We had this really awkward situation earlier where the wind blew my fascinator / hat. Where
Where did it go? Well, there's a little trough down here, and it's called cooling water, and it's just here. And where did your hat go?
Right in the horse's trough.
Currently, Colin, one of our engineers, is sitting on it trying to dry it out. So,
but because Ascot's such a wonderfully friendly place, a lovely lady called Louise, who's going, hey, hi Louise, who's right behind the camera very kindly, has lent me hers, and it's great. So thank you so much.
Chris is feeling very smug though, because now it's like, oh, that's why I'm not wearing a hat.
And the worst situation, it could have happened in front of a better person other than the creative director of Ascot, and that is the wonderful Daniel Fletcher. Daniel, thanks so much for joining us. Now, you've been a part of Ascot for 3 years now. Now, you were a fashion designer in your own right, and you've worked with Louis Vuitton, J.W. Anderson, Fiorucci. I mean, the list is endless. Why have you decided to work with Ascot?
You know, when Ascot approached me to do this job, I was kind of like, okay, what does it mean to be the creative director of Royal Ascot? And actually, the thing that they wanted me to do was show people what they can do to express themselves within the dress codes, because the dress codes are not changing. You know, they remain, the same, or there've been some small changes for hundreds of years. And what they wanted me to do was just show people what they can do to show their best selves when they come to Royal Ascot.
Lizzie got quite excited when she realised that there is a colour of Ascot.
Yeah.
And it's bright tomato,
Bright tomato. So every year at Ascot, there's always one trend that really stands out. So last year we saw polka dots everywhere. Everyone was wearing polka dots. The year before, it was this kind of periwinkle blue. So this year I was like, okay, let's try and predict what the colour of the year is. And we went for bright tomato, and I chose it based off what I was seeing on the runways, what I was seeing in the milliners' collections. There was a lot of this kind of like very rich tomatoey red out there. And I walked through the gates today, and there are dozens and dozens of people in bright tomato, and you can spot I can see someone there.
There's another one just in the distance over there. There's so many.
We are calling it. We're saying that bright tomato is the colour of the year for Royal Ascot.
So how did they end up with polka dot the year before when you hadn't called it? I mean, how do we get to these?
I'm not going to take responsibility, but I would say that so one of the things I do in my job is create a lookbook, and the lookbook is supposed to give people inspiration for what they should wear to Royal Ascot. And there were a lot of polka dots in the lookbook as well, so we did also a mix of spots and stripes as well. So then we saw, actually I can see a few over here as well. So
yeah,
I think polka dots is always a great one for the British summertime anyway.
Oh, look, there's two bright reds coming down.
There, perfect.
So one thing that you love, Lizzie, is the late Queen's fashion when it came to Royal Ascot, because she really went to town, especially with colour.
Yeah, the late Queen, we know she used to wear a lot of colour. It was a way of standing out in a crowd, and she was quite petite, the late Queen, but you could always spot her wherever she was. But at Royal Ascot, betting on the colour of her hat for each day of the meet was one of the big things, and it was such a sort of a hot topic that Angela Kelly, her designer, used to have decoys in the workshop, 4 or 5 different coloured hats that she'd laid out, and they also had to agree a time when bets would stop on the late Queen's hat, because to stop any potential insider betting.
When I think of the late Queen, I always just think of the pastels, actually, like the lilacs and the kind of minty greens. Like, that's in my head, I always just go to those kind of like those pastel colours, which is so classic of Royal Ascot. And for the colour of the year, we were really on the fence between bright tomato and lavender, and bright tomato won out in the end, but I hope that the late Queen would have approved.
Do you think the King is as into fashion?
So actually, we were talking earlier, so I went for my one of my suit fittings. I've got a different suit every day this week, and one of the one I'm wearing on Thursday, which is Gold Cup Day, which is known for its fashions, is from Favourite, and I went for a full grey morning suit, and actually that is the favourite of the King, so he always wears a grey morning suit. And when I was there, they said that this year the grey morning suit has been their most popular, and I would say that is because of the King.
Really?
And I would, you wouldn't think of King Charles as a trendsetter, but actually I would say he has set the trend for the grey morning suit.
Her wardrobe for Ascot, they used to work on it for many months. There were spare outfits depending, on the weather, on the day, so they could have a last minute change if they needed to. So it was something they took really seriously. But one of my absolute favourite outfits was 2019 from the Duchess of Cambridge. Probably won't surprise you to know. She wore a powder blue dress by the designer Ellie Saab, and I thought I really loved that look.
As a fashion insider, is there an element of the royal family as a whole having conversations about what they're wearing, so they don't turn up in the same thing or the same colour, the same shoes, carry the same bag, have the same hat?
I would love to know this actually, because I don't feel like we've ever really seen that. I can't remember a time when I've seen a royal event where 2 members of the royal family have turned up in something clashing. So there must be conversations going on, because we've all had it. We've all gone to a party with a friend and oh, sorry, you're wearing what's going on here? And that never happens with the royal family, so there must be a conversation.
Yeah.
Do you think they've got a WhatsApp group? Like a address, this is mine for tomorrow.
Maybe they don't have it, but I'm sure people in the staff might have it.
The glam squad come together,
Royal
assemble.
Glam squad.
As we say a lot, nothing in the royal family happens by accident.
It's your
And I think
favourite phrase.
it's no coincidence that there's no clashing.
I loved Zara's outfit today.
Yeah.
Dusty pink number and hat, and I just thought it was brilliant.
She always looks fab.
I know. Yeah. She's always got a finger on the fashion pulse.
I'd love to just go out for a drink with Zara. I feel like she'd be fun.
Daniel, I'm going to name drop, but I have with both of them, and they are brilliant.
Good fun, I'm sure.
And she is very much a very good person to go out for a drink with. And that is all I will say. But Daniel, you've been absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
And I'm actually really excited about what you're going to wear for the rest of the week. Is it going to be on your socials?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Well, tell us.
Yeah, Daniel W. Fletcher, that's me.
Okay.
Got a different suit every day, so
And flying the flag for British fashion.
Absolutely.
Always.
Well,
All
I'm
right.
back here tomorrow, so I'm going to look out for you. But
Yeah, in a hat, I hope.
It's not the grey tomorrow, is it? The grey's Thursday.
Grey's Thursday. Tomorrow I'm wearing a Hackett number. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Are you wearing something different from today?
I have the King's Grey, so I have the choice. So I
Oh.
could come in grey tomorrow.
That does surprise me that you have more than one morning suit. I learn something all the time,
Yes,
don't I?
know. There's so many surprises. You should see my wardrobe. It's just a vast array of different changes.
Yeah, let's not lie. Right, that's the end of this part of the programme, but in part 3, we've got a roundup of all the royal news that have been happening all week. Truth in the Colour, we find out where Prince George is going to be going to secondary school, and we also have the Order of the Garter. Guys, it's the royal summer season. Welcome back. I'm still in my borrowed hat.
Yes, your poor new friend is up there without the hat.
I know, and it's really hot and I feel really bad, but my hair was done specifically to wear a hat. So let's make sure this bit goes fast so I can give her a hat back. So we've got a few things that's happening this week because it's summer season. It really is summer season, isn't it?
It all comes like all of a sudden, like suddenly you're at like Order of the Garter Day, which is the day I always think it's the day when you feel like you've stepped back a few centuries, when you see people coming down from the top of Windsor Castle down to the lower ward, dressed as packs of cards. You've got King, Queen, Prince William and others, all orders, the Order of the Garter, plumes coming out of their head, big long robes. It looks fantastic, but it does feel like you've stepped back a few centuries.
Yeah. Who was there, Lizzie? Were they all there? The main
Yeah,
one?
you see lots of the senior royals, the King and Queen are both there, the Prince and Princess of Wales, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, the Duke of Kent, the Gloucesters. So yeah, it's a big royal turnout, and as Chris says, this is the summer season. They've rolled out the carriages. We've seen them, we saw them at the weekend, we saw them on Monday, and now we're seeing them at Royal Ascot. So
one person who wasn't there in any way, shape or form was Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Previous years, he's joined the lunch because he was still a royal companion of the Order of the Garter, but he wasn't allowed to process down the hill in front of all the cameras. This week was the first time that there was no involvement of him at all, because obviously he's been removed from that order now. So.
I want to have a conversation about Truth in the Colour, which is always a lovely big event in London. This year, there was a picture of Kate which dominated quite a few of the papers, with her looking really annoyed. And she was annoyed because of protest groups, we assume annoyed at protest groups who were yelling towards the carriage that she was in, who were very anti-monarchy, they don't want the monarchy to exist. And we've seen a lot more of that over the last few months. However, on this occasion, the children were in the carriage. Prince George, who is going to be king at some point in time, who is young, who is a child, he's under 16, was in that carriage at the time, and they were yelling in a way which I would argue is fine for adults, but is quite disturbing, I would say, for a child. And because of the age that George is compared to, I don't know, years ago when his brother was of a similar age, when his dad was of a similar age, or the king was at a similar age, for example, that kind of animosity and loud protest didn't really happen in the same way that it does now.
That was the age of difference then. We don't have that now. And one thing that we've seen since the change of reign is the protests, the big yellow banners that come out. They either say, "Not my king," or "Ditch the duchies," or "What did you know, ... about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor." And one of the umbrellas that the Republic campaign group unfurled in a series of umbrellas was "Stop the Rain," REIGN, not RAIN. But you're right that I think what we saw from Kate was a natural reaction of a mother to a group of people yelling at her son.
Because they're talking about the king. He will be king at some point. So he could be sat there as a child thinking, oh my God, they're yelling at me.
Although the argument of Republic is you shouldn't assume he should be king at some point, because if there were to be a referendum in the future, then maybe we won't have a monarchy. But I think what we saw from Kate was that sort of instant, natural reaction of a mother saying, he's a little kid. He's not that old, and you are yelling at him as he's going past in the carriage. And it was just a bit uncomfortable. And there'd already been a little bit of discussion between the police and Republic about where they could and couldn't stand for Truth in the Colour as well.
Lizzie, do you think we're going to reach a moment in time where protest groups they have a right to protest. Of course they have a right to protest. It's everybody's right to protest. But does it become different when there are young children involved?
I think Chris is completely right. You know, what we saw there was that sort of natural instinct from the Princess of Wales, wasn't it? The children have been very carefully and gently introduced to public life. Trooping the Colour is one of the days of the year where we see all members, including the Wales children, in public. And but you know, the Prince and Princess of Wales have shielded the children a lot and been very careful with how they have approached that introduction to public life, and therefore it must have been difficult for the Princess of Wales to sit there with her 3 children and being able to hear that. And I think what you saw was that natural moment. But you know, you are also right to say that they have a right to free speech and to protest.
Okay, well, talking of the children, it's really lovely. This has nothing to do with the children, but what's happening behind us is really gorgeous.
The King's there because we have a royal runner.
Is there because the King's got a horse?
Yeah, the King's presenting the trophy for the King Charles III Stakes.
Yes.
But in the 5 o'clock race, he has a horse called Reaching High. When you looked earlier, it was one of the favourites.
It was one of the favourites, yes.
So there's the King just having a look at these riders in the parade ring.
Yeah.
Duchess of Gloucester behind him.
And they're all out. It's quite a fun day out, isn't it? I do quite like. I'm going to come a little bit out of shot here, but you know, now that I can see the Queen's outfit in full, it's a gorgeous outfit. More muted colours from what the late Queen would have worn, but you know, it's a gorgeous outfit that she's wearing.
And they were still betting on her outfits as well. I had an email this week saying Queen Camilla to wear white at one point this week. I don't know whether that was today.
I saw that.
If it was
I actually wore
wrong.
this thinking I was going to match the Queen. Turns out I'm
but
not.
now I know that like bright tomato is the colour to wear.
Yes.
I might go and find myself a bright tomato tie for tomorrow.
Will you be allowed to wear that?
Yes, I think you would. Yes.
Okay. Right, the final
We
thing-
had an expert on earlier. We should have asked him.
That's true, we should have asked him. The final thing to talk about is Prince George's School, because we had an episode a couple of months ago where we were talking about the potential schools that he could go to and whether or not they were going to break with tradition.
Yeah.
And drumroll please, have they broken with tradition?
No.
Yeah.
He's going to Eton College, where Prince William went. Well, when you say breaking with tradition, I suppose in a way William and Harry were breaking with tradition because they were the ones who were sent off to boarding school previously. Obviously, the late Queen was schooled at home. King Charles went to Gordonston in Scotland, but yeah, they could have gone to Marlborough, which is where Kate went. They had another couple of schools in North London were in contention, co-ed schools, another word for mixed boys and girls, but they chose Eton College.
And I'm assuming that Eton is fully boarding. Is it fully boarding?
Yes, so you can't be a weekly boarder or a day boarder, so you are allowed out at weekends, but it is a fully boarding school.
Okay.
And it's a bit William was saying on that radio interview a couple of weeks ago that George does do a little bit of boarding at his current school, Lambert.
Yeah, he's being introduced to boarding at Lambert, doing a few nights here and there, we understand. But Eton, you know, is very close to where the family home is, Forest Lodge in Windsor. So it means that Mum and Dad aren't too far away.
Yeah.
See them at the weekends, but.
Do you reckon they're going to do that? Have the Paps there on his first day? Or do you think it's going to leave him alone?
You know, and one of the episodes we did a while ago, everyone was like complaining about the detail that we gave when actually that detail's in the public domain, that all 3 children go to Lambert School and some cameras, including our own, were invited there when they started. I would have thought they'll do the same thing for Eton, but they won't do. Let's have 900 cameras in. Let's just have 1 or 2 cameras, and then everybody can share the picture.
Yeah, I think what we've seen when they were at St Thomas's Battersea and also Lambrook is a very small group of media invited. You have 1 photographer, 1 broadcaster, and 1 print reporter. Keep that group really small. I do remember when they were at St Thomas's Battersea, we were even asked to can you put mobile phones down, please? We just want to keep the media really small, and you know they are children, and you know, try and make it as unintimidating as possible.
So we have another generation off to Eton.
We do.
So we'll just see how it goes.
Yep. And he wants to borrow my tailcoat for any of his lessons, and he can.
No state schools in contention though, no?
Well, I don't think that was ever a choice, no.
Now that would have been breaking with
that would have
tradition.
been brave, yeah. I mean, actually, I would have thought maybe they would have chosen either a co-ed school or perhaps a school, you know how much Kate likes learning outdoors, and that was one of the reasons they chose Lambert for their 3 children, for their prep school. I thought maybe they might have done something differently, but
But
it is.
you know what you know, I suppose.
I mean, it's not been bad for prime ministers before. There's a few of them. There's a few actors: Eddie Redmayne, Tom Hiddleston.
I do think what they have done though is they will have thought very, very carefully about this, and they will look at the children as individuals and work out what is best for them, and they will not have chosen this school just because he is following in William's footsteps. They will have chosen it because it's the right school for George.
Like millions of families across the country who've also found out what secondary school their kids are going to.
Perhaps I sent Louis to a state school. Who knows?
Oh, I love that. Louis is built for the state system. He really is. Right, thanks very much for that. We've come to the end of it, actually. I think we're going to try and have a couple glasses of bubbly whilst we're here. And I need to give Louise back her hat. She's still up there.
Still waiting for a hat up there. Poor old Louise.
And bless her, it is really hot and I feel really bad. Louise, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. She's brilliant.
You're about to get it back.
I think we're going to be back in the studio next week, so we're going to make the most of the sun whilst we're here. But don't forget to subscribe to Talking Royals wherever you get your podcasts. We have a huge back catalogue on our YouTube channels. If you want to go back and perhaps take a look at the episode where we talked about Prince George and schools, that's on the YouTube channel, so we have to look back at that. But we will be back next week, so we'll see you then.